There's something special about the heart of a young Ranger. They come in, they feel like they have a lot to prove, they want to be accepted by the Ranger community. Just amazing what they are willing to do to prove themselves to the world and to each other. My name is Patrick McElrath. I'm a husband and father of 4, and I was an Army Ranger with the 2nd Ranger Battalion in the late 80s and early 90s and participated in Operation Just Cause, the Panama invasion. December 15th of 1989, Panama declared a state of war with the United States. And shortly after that, George H.W. Bush decided enough was enough, and he made the call to invade Panama to depose Manuel Noriega.
Well, it's coming up on Christmas season. You know, you turn in your weapons and your night vision equipment and your radios and your, we're young men, young families, everyone's anxious, hey, let's get everything put away so we can go home and see wives and girlfriends and all that. And then we were not home for very long. It was maybe an hour or two.
Soup was being made. I was talking to my kids, got the phone call to come back in.
We were off for an hour or 2 hours at home, and our beepers went off. We ended up loading up and flying to Fort Benning.
I had been thinking we were still on a drill until we landed in Georgia, and I saw the Jeeps loaded with pallets of live ammo as we strolled through there to get to our tent.
You show back up at the unit, and as we showed up, the gates get locked, and we're like, oh, okay, this is different. This is most likely real world.
And from there we went. It was sleeting, cold, and went into a very hot and humid Panama.
When you exit my aircraft tomorrow, we're going to be going between 12 and 1,500 feet based on winds. If you do not drive my parachute tomorrow correctly, you're going to hit the water going 16 to 20 miles an hour. Now, it sounds like fun. I'll guarantee you it's going to be like a brick.
So the Hard Rock Charlie Foundation comes along and says, we're going to do this jump with Phantom Airborne Brigade where we can put Rangers back under silk canopies 1,250 feet over a lake and let them jump into alligator-infested waters. And right there I knew there was something special happening, because Rangers are insane, and that's exactly what I loved about them, right, is I get to do this with these guys.
We wanted him to jump before, and getting him to jump, I didn't know how that was going to happen. I mean, there's 2 ways to this. I mean, here you're thinking, do we hurt him again? Or is this going to make him better?
To have him going out on this jump to overcome, any of the obstacles is certainly motivational to anybody. There's no way it couldn't be.
At 10 o'clock, that bird's coming across that lake come hell or high water. There'll be 10 to 11 people per pass, 2 passes per lift. No reason to rush, no reason to lollygag, just a smooth, steady walk right out the door, boom.
We did a mass airborne invasion of Panama on December 20th, 1989, sometime after midnight.
My fellow citizens, last night I ordered U.S. military forces to Panama. No president takes such action lightly.
We flew out to the Pacific Ocean, so I jumped out of the aircraft. I remember falling and thinking, I'm not afraid at all. This is a wonderful, easy jump. As soon as my parachute had finished its opening and I'd looked up to check my canopy, as I was turning my head to look, I saw something under my feet, and what it was somebody else's parachute. And so I dropped down, I think, next to that jumper, and then my parachute collapsed over top of their parachute. And at that moment, I felt myself go through their risers, the strings that go up to their parachute. So I tried to tuck in tight to see if I could swing out of the risers, and I didn't. So I thought, there's a pretty good chance we're gonna hit the ground here any second. I better just grab onto this guy's risers and we'll just land together and we'll move on. I went to reach for the risers, but at that moment it seemed like in slow motions they moved away from me as my hands in slow motions reached to grab them. And then I woke up on the ground. After I released my canopy assembly, I went to pull my pistol out, and when I went to push on the ground so I could roll over and pull it out, I could hear this crunching in my back, and the pain just swept over me. I was terrified that night when I could hear someone running by screaming in Spanish. I thought I was going to end up a casualty of war, but my Ranger buddies showed up and they just made sure that that didn't happen that night.
Everybody hits that breaking point, and we don't know where that is. And for everybody, it's different. I think Mac, for that day when it happened to him on the drop zone in Rio Hato, was his breaking point.
Because I always think, man, if I was dealt that same hand of cards, would I have been able to play it as well as Pat did? To me, it's like, you cannot keep that Ranger down. Here's a guy who is paralyzed from the waist down, but he has made a life for himself and a good life. He married, he had children, he went on to be successful in a career, and you know it's not been an easy road.
Look at his life, what he's done, the things that he's accomplished. Could have thrown it all in, didn't do it.
Significance of Pat making this jump. The last step he ever took was out of an MC-130 aircraft over Rio Hato. For him now to essentially get back on the horse and face the thing that crushed him physically, he's inspiring to me that he wants to do this.
After so many years, over 30 years of being paralyzed, having the opportunity to not only jump again, but to do it with all my Ranger brothers. As we sat in the plane and I could see the lake approaching, I heard them say, okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And right when they said 1, my brain immediately remembered what fear was and said, well, what are you doing? Before I could think twice about it, they shoved me from the aircraft.
3, 2, 1, go! Ranger! Yeah!
To be able to do this 30-some years later, it was a way for me to put some things to bed that mentally I think I had been carrying around for a long time. I almost felt like I'd left it in the lake when I landed. So when I was pulled from the water by friends, brought to the shore to be around my Ranger buddies, my family, my friends, it put all that to rest.
Splash, baby!